Welcome to Wake Up Canada News. I'm Brandt Wilder. Today we want to continue talking with another of our amazing writers who have, been doing amazing work with their articles that bring fact, not fiction, and really tell you what the mainstream media won't. Today we welcome Larry Brandt. But before we bring Larry on, let's give you a little details on who Larry is. Larry was born and raised in Riverton, Manitoba. He's the oldest of 11. He's a husband, a father of 6, and a grandfather of 9. After graduation, Larry worked in building construction, later taking a course in architectural drafting, and following his course, Larry became self-employed in the industry. In 2014, he joined the local Member of Parliament's Electoral District Association, joining his MLA for a 2016 win, sitting as president of the Constituency Association. During his tenure, Larry helped numerous leadership races in the Conservative Party of Canada, the most notable being Andrew Scheer's successful bid. Seeing politics from different angles and placing a high priority on making a difference for our province, Larry became, a candidate for the very first time. To quote Larry, "Allegiance should be to the people, not the party." Without further ado, let's welcome Larry to the program. Larry, it's a pleasure having you and taking some time out of your busy day to sit in, visit with us. We've got lots of questions to get to. We want to thank you very much for all the great articles you've been putting out. Your knowledge base is pretty big inside your head there. You've got a lot of different things that you write about, talk about, and discuss along the way that others just have no clue about, and that's exactly why we're doing this show, because I think that to get people to understand what's happening, they have to believe in the people that are telling them. And that's something that's been skewed by our mainstream media a bit. So, Larry, you've been involved in politics for some time now. Tell us about that journey.
Yes, I've been engaged in politics, and thank you for having me. I've been engaged in politics for a number of years, starting, like you said, in 2014. More with community involvement and moving into campaign work and policy discussions and that kind of thing, and now becoming more politically involved. It's been a steady journey of learning, connecting with people, building community connections, all with the goal of serving people better.
Well, that's great. There's been, a lot of things that you've seen happening in the world. You know, your articles are well written. They provide a ton of information with each one. What drives you to write as much as you do?
Well, politics is not my passion, I'll tell you that.
No way.
It's more seeing what's happening in the world, in our country, and even locally in our communities. I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit to your other question, but just seeing how things have kind of devolved, it's troubling to say the least. And to see how politicians are more interested in their party than actually, working for the people. I know there's good politicians out there.
There is.
One of the things that has really bothered me is how politically, or how they won't be able to, or don't actually talk about the real issues that people are interested in. They'll do political correctness stuff just to stay nice with people instead of actually dealing with the real problems.
Now, there's because you do so many articles, there's got to be a specific, maybe a topic that you really enjoy. I mean, politics, you said, not my thing, but you've had to. It's like almost a necessity when you start to become when you become an MLA or you start to support a political party. You engage, you start to get involved. So there's certain things, though, that you stand for. What kinds of things do you stand for? And what kind of things do you like to write about?
Well, I always draw the line at kind of three basic things: life, liberty, and family. And when those lines are crossed and you get into, um, kids being taught things that really is so um, degrading, it doesn't help them. They should be teaching them, like uh, financial principles, how to get ahead, and not all kinds of other um, socially constructive ways.
Sure. How about just learning to do the taxes? How about just learning to, read again and write cursive
Well,
again and, get them off the devices and start to maintain a level of, well, we used to call it higher learning.
learning civics, that would be a huge step forward. Learning how to, or learning or understanding how politics works.
Have you ever wondered why? I mean, let's face it, Canadian universities and Canadian colleges are putting out, I don't know, anywhere from probably 20 to 30 students each per year in political sciences. How come those individuals never end up in politics? Like, they've been trained to be in politics, but they never get there. And I'm going to say the greedy gets in before the educated.
Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And I think too often people going to universities, they don't really follow through on the course that they're taking. They maybe find out there's more involved, or there's things involved that they don't enjoy, and then decide to do something else, like serving at a McDonald's.
Right, right. Well, those are tough jobs to find for white Canadians these days, obviously.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So let's
true.
talk about how you feel about the direction of Canada now, because, well, it's crazy out there, and where are we going? What are we doing? How are we going to get out of this mess that we're in right now, Larry?
Well, it's good to be concerned about the direction that Canada is heading in. We see growing division everywhere, and I think it's by design that it's because the only way you can control people is by dividing them and
Right.
and keeping them apart. Higher costs is a huge problem. Families, how can they afford some of the growing families' needs? Just policies that weaken our economy and limit personal freedoms. That's a huge thing. We found out in the last 5 years how freedoms can be taken away so easily, and people seem to be okay with that. Too often, decisions are made to serve global agendas instead of our local agendas, the needs of Canadians here at home. But I also believe that we have tremendous potential with strong leadership. I think we could become a driving force around the world. Focus on unity and policies that put families, communities, and economic growth first. We can get back on track if we do that. Where we're going ultimately depends on whether we choose to stand up and make those changes or allow the current course to continue. And we have to stop it somehow.
We sure do. And again, we've got Klaus Schwab's fingers all over 52 cabinet ministers in Parliament, and the Liberals are overthrown, and they're following a playbook that's put out by the UN, the World Economic Forum, and the elites, as they say. This isn't conspiracy theory anymore, and we've all seen the proof. And if you haven't, as a viewer, we recommend that you look a little deeper, because the rabbit hole goes pretty deep, doesn't it, Larry?
Yeah, yeah. There's and everybody has his own rabbit holes.
Yeah, you can be taken down this way or that way or this way, and there's so many different paths, right? But ultimately, it all comes down to right back to the same place at the bottom end of it all. So
Yeah,
the government's throwing crap at us constantly, backed up by a corrupt Liberal and NDP government, Larry. The MPs have worked a total of 100 days over the last year and received a paycheck each of $200,000, plus, the hotels, the flights, the food, which works out to about 310 grand each. How do Canadians expect things to get done in this country if nobody's working, Larry?
well, if you run a crew and they're all sitting around drinking coffee, you guessed it, not much gets done. And you're absolutely right to be frustrated. when you have MPs sitting around, probably working in their community, connecting with people, but really know, you're getting paid for actually working for the people, not working for your
That's right.
overlords. So the truth is, very little gets done because too many government are focused on protecting their parties, not serving the people. And that's an unfortunate thing. I think that needs to be turned around in a complete 180. Accountability, transparency, and stronger work ethic in Parliament should be essential, I think. If everyday Canadians can show up for work, so should politicians.
100%. Do you see, and this again off the cuff, but do you see accountability happening for the atrocities that have already been committed?
When you take it, or when you say atrocities, you're talking about what we've seen in the past 5 years, or
Yeah, pretty much the past 5 years alone. I mean, you could go back even farther. Obviously, Justin hasn't been a good boy for 12 years. So,
right? Yeah, I mean, what we saw the last 5 years was actually, I think, something that developed the previous 5 years or more. Um, Accountability just wasn't there, and we and the rest of us were sleeping for the most part. I've been involved for quite a while, even on social media, seeing how things kind of devolved. I remember the 2015 election,
right.
how we were starting to see how the media was definitely singing a tune that was very off key
One
and
sided, right?
offsided, yes,
Yeah.
very lopsided. So that's why we started with social media, and it didn't take long, and we start seeing uh, different people like Canada Proud and those people pop up.
That's right.
We were offered money and we didn't take it because we wanted to have our own message. We didn't want to be dictated to, so we kind of kept to our own organic kind of material, and eventually some of the media started coming after us. We had oh, I forget his name now, Justin someone, very left wing.
Right.
He came after us, and we didn't really respond to it. They went to the uh, political party and
Mm-hmm.
to find out how they could directly connect with us, and finally they did. I just thanked them for having interest in us and said, no, we're not very interested.
Right. They're, they're NGOs, very aggressive, very pushy. They, we deal in the media industry, so from a perspective of that, we've got a company there called Honest Reporting Canada or whatever it is, and they're the NGO for the Liberals and the NDP government, and they're the bureaucratic oversight that we media don't need. And I was talking about them earlier today, and realistically, they hold no authority or power over anything, but they're going to sit there and dictate. CTV went ahead just yesterday and issued an apology on a statement for using the words genocide. That's again relating to Gaza and all of that, starvation, withholding food, and CTV apologized for using that terminology. And I just went, you know what? I don't think I'll ever apologize to anybody for anything that way, because the truth is what the truth is, and that's what I love about your writing style. Is that there's no profanity. It's not taken to a place of questions. It's taken to a place of fact. And at the end of the story, there's conclusion. And for a lot of people, they sit and they rant and they rave and they say tons and tons of stuff, but it's what I call noise. People are looking for well-structured information, and for them to believe it, that's probably the hardest thing today, is getting people to understand that the truth is right in front of them and under their nose.
Right, and the truth, even if you have the facts there and prove it, a lot of people do not care. They don't care about what's really going on. They've made up their mind, that red is white, and it doesn't matter how you prove it to them.
Yeah, they, in a sense, it's coercion and it's extortion and it's a whole bunch of words that are criminal, actually, because the media has really played on people's minds. It's been a mind f, as they say. Um, it it's left people really confused about what the real truth is, and
Right.
people don't need to go searching because they just want to believe their idiot box at home. And I started this show. I don't make any money at doing any of this. I do this for, well, just to be part of getting the message out and doing the right thing, because my grandfather, he was a veteran of the Canadian military, and back in the 50s or 60s, they did some testing on their Canadian military soldiers. I don't know if you heard about this, but my grandfather was put in a Quonset with a bunch of other soldiers, and they tested mustard gas on him. At 65
Oh,
years
wow.
old, my grandfather passed away at the St. Boniface Hospital on January 1st, New Year's Day, after having brain surgery 2 days prior or 3 days prior. And it was caused from the mustard gas situation at Suffield. The Canadian government owned up to that situation. They even released a cash payment for everybody whose family suffered, and that time came with plaques and pictures and a memorial in Suffield and all of that sort of stuff. My grandmother went. My grandmother handed us grandkids a check from those funds that she had received and said, "When it's time to stand up, you better be there." So here I am,
Yep.
right? This is it. This is
Yeah.
the calling.
Yeah.
How she knew, I don't know. But so that's why I do what I do, but there's no money in any of this. It's not like I'm funded by the government. CBC gets $2 billion a year, and I'm just doing this out of my studios and trying to do the best I can, obviously. And
You probably have more viewers than I do.
well, at this point, I'm trying. I'm definitely trying. I'm still not quite as big as I'd like to be, but that only comes from like-minded people who are helping along the way, sharing, liking, posting, commenting. Um, I've had the chance to be on the Alex Jones show and with Infowars, and he took some of our material and did some amazing work with it. Um, I run another show called Unmasking the Trans Movement as well, and
Right.
and we get the chance to talk about all kinds of issues there that we're not bringing a bunch of parents onto this show. It's all doctors and therapists and trauma therapists and clinical people that are really talking about what's really going on in that realm. So for me, again, it's here to help, try to do the right thing, much like you're doing. We have to find our place and find a place to do our part. You do that through some amazing journalism and writing, and I try to make sure that message gets heard. And I appreciate you, Larry, letting us use your writing and present your articles the way we do.
Well, I've always said whatever I post, that's free to be taken and shared however you feel fit.
Well, that's great. I want to get your advice, because I think providing Canadians who may be listening that have no idea what's really going on, they need to prepare, and they're not even thinking about that. We've spent time thinking about all the things of the future, and it at this point it looks kind of bleak. So, with that being said, do you have any advice for people as they move forward? What steps can they take to kind of get organized to be ready for everything that's coming?
Well, quite frankly, to be prepared, you have to be informed. You have to know what's going on. Now, I don't think that you have to know everything, but take an area of interest and become informed. Help people read past the headlines, think deeper, and ask questions. Like the people during the lockdowns weren't asking questions; they were just going along, following along. Ask questions like when were we stop? When did we stop asking questions? That's the thing. we need to keep asking questions, pay attention to where policies are really coming from and who benefits. Awareness is really the first line of defense when it comes to moving forward, moving ahead, and helping others become, on a practical level, families should prepare for continued, like we're going to see more problems propping up, and so if families and everybody could become more prepared for rising costs and higher taxes, government overreach, that's going to happen. We're seeing it more and more, even on a municipal level. That means being smart with finances. We have to do our own part, like become self-reliant, not dependent on others. That doesn't mean we don't work together.
Larry?
What's that?
Especially the government, right?
Right. Yeah, because
that's what they
I
want.
like what Ronald Reagan said. Government is the problem. They're not the solution.
Exactly. So those are some great tips of advice. Obviously, the financial side of things is getting ugly, messy, dirty. The banking industry.
Just recently, the Air Canada strike kind of hit a note for me. So yeah, they're complaining about how they're not getting paid.
Right.
And really, if you're dependent on an employer or you're dependent on a union and they don't do what you want, what do? Just go along? Or do you kind of carve out your own niche in the market?
You put out an article this morning, didn't you, on that topic, did you not?
No, it was a couple of days ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where can people find your articles right now? Where can they look you up and get a hold?
Basically, I post everything on Facebook. So if you follow me there, or your show, Brad,
right?
You post a lot of my articles, or you talk about a lot of my articles.
I do.
Follow you there.
Well, that's great. So again, look up Larry Brandt. That's LarryBrandt, and get involved, learn, question, and search for the proper results. Do the proper research. That's one thing that Larry does well. Is you do good research, Larry, and that's why we can trust your writing ability, and we can trust the facts that you provide, is because we know you go deep to try to make sure that you're doing the right thing and saying the right thing along the way, aren't you?
Yeah, and a lot of it comes not just from research. It's over the years I've been, I guess that's called research too, but a lot of it comes from following what's happening in the world and communities around us. And, you see the colors fade and unfortunately into a cold fall, I guess.
Yeah.
And the only way to change it is by changing my little corner that I can change.
Absolutely. One day at a time, right, Larry? One day at a time is where we're at.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you very much for all your hard efforts researching, writing these amazing articles as well. I hope you keep them coming. I'd love to have you back on the program as well to discuss more when time permits. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to get, a lot more troubling, and I'm sure we're going to have more conversations about, how to get out of this mess or even just try to live through it. I want to thank you very much for being on the show today, Larry. Can't do it without you.
Thank you. Great being on your show.
Thank you very much to everybody for paying attention and watching today. It's because of our viewers, and we can't do it without you guys. So please like, share, and follow us on any of your favorite socials, including Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X, BitChute, and even our website at wakeupcanadanews.com. Till next time, remember, you're the voice, and it's time to make it count. I'm Brad Wilder, and I'll see you soon.